we need to feel good. We need to have a sense of achievement. That is human. And no, I don't think anybody should apologize for that.
Your brain is smarter than you think, which is sort of an ironic statement. If it doesn't really think you have a good plan that's going to achieve something worth achieving, you're not going to feel very motivated. That can feel a lot like procrastination.
Today's interview is sponsored by Mulliganbrothers.com, where you can now buy the Inspire Change t-shirts, all linked down below at Mulliganbrothers.com. Before that, let's jump into the highlights. With procrastination, is it something that we can change our environment to avoid procrastination, or is it something that we should embrace? Also, what is procrastination? Let's start with what is procrastination, I guess.
So procrastination, from my point of view, well, first of all, I'd say procrastination is a lot of different things. It's in the medical terminology, and sometimes psychological terminology, when there's a lot of related behaviors that sort of connect, but we can't find a single unifying cause, we'll often call it a syndrome. So it might be more accurate to say a procrastination syndrome, but I kind of don't love the diagnostic terminology. Actually, I think it sometimes gets in the way. Like, I would never say someone is a procrastinator, because that's probably not true. You procrastinate maybe 5% of the time. That doesn't define you. In any event, procrastination, from my point of view, is a lot of different things because there's lots of different reasons, but it's mainly avoidance. At the first part, you might think, well, that's obvious. But I would say what's distinctive about procrastination is it's actually avoidance of things that we want to do or we think are valuable to us. That's the puzzle, right? So when someone says, Nick, I'm procrastinating from doing my taxes, I hate it, and I explain it, and then somebody else jumps in and says, well, that's dumb, they just don't want to do it. I would say absolutely right. If you don't want to do it and you don't do it, I don't think there's a puzzle that needs to be explained. However, many people procrastinate on things they value. They do not undertake tasks, or they feel an aversion to things that they think are really important to them, even things they like to do, things they care about. And there'll even be a pattern that the more they care about it, the more they feel the pull to procrastinate. That's a puzzle.
That is something that really interests me. Why is it that the thing that we want the most, we almost resist in some way the most as well?
So great question, right? So why is it that we resist doing the work or undertaking the tasks or doing the activities that would lead to the outcomes that we value the most, that we care about, that we want, that would have material benefits and all kinds of other things, yet we can't get ourselves to move that? Well, there's a fundamental dilemma that people face that I think self-worth theory helps to unpack and unravel, so to speak. So I would argue, or self-worth theory argues, that this dilemma is, if we're going to demonstrate our worth, if we're going to achieve something of significance, and again, this is an important fundamental human need. Most people have a desire to achieve for themselves and be perceived as accomplished, right? Fundamental human need. But to do that, that means I need to undertake tasks, activities, do things that are challenging. They're hard, right? So, because if I do things that are easy, if I go down the street and I play basketball with the local 7-year-olds and I dunk on them all day, I don't get to say I'm the greatest basketball player ever. That's too easy of a task. That doesn't really demonstrate my athletic ability. So I must take on a hard task to demonstrate that I have high ability, right? If I do easy tasks, that does not demonstrate that I have high ability, that I've achieved. However, as soon as I undertake a hard task, what have I introduced to this equation? I could fail. So the dilemma is I have to navigate these two things. And then if I really care about something, if I fail in an area that I really care about, then the attribution, the implication to myself is greater, right?
If you feel like I want to make this a part of my life, I've chosen to go in it, I know it's going to be hard, I'm surrounding myself with it, I'm reading books about it, I'm going talks to it, I love the challenge of trying to develop this intellectual expertise. I don't know if you're wired for that or not, but if you have that right motivation, you're going to be much more successful than if you come into it with, I don't know, my parents want me to be a doctor, so I guess I'll do pre-med, right? Sometimes what's going on here is that your mind doesn't trust your plan. So I just want to throw that angle in there as well. One of the defining features of the human brain, one of the reasons that we can separate from other animals, is that the human brain can both conceive of plans, right? So abstractly conceive of a plan and then evaluate that plan. Is it good or bad? And if it's good, you feel motivation to do it. And if it's bad, you feel dismotivation, right? So this is very important. Again, if we go back to the Paleolithic, the emergence of the modern Homo sapiens, you might be thinking through like, well, maybe what I should do is charge this mammoth and whatever, jump on it and stab it through the eye to kill it. Well, the plan evaluation apparatus is like, no, that's a bad plan. You're not going to feel motivated for that. And then you have another idea like, well, maybe we should throw spears from far away, and you feel motivation to do it. Some procrastination is basically your brain rejecting your plan. And so I first saw this with students where they'd feel procrastination to study. And it's because it's just an incredibly vague thing. Their mind's like, I don't know how to evaluate this. Like, what do you mean by study? And a lot of really successful students I looked at for my books, they never used the word study. It was much more concrete. I'm going to take these chapters and we're going to do a quiz and recall here. And this works really well and it's going to prepare me well. If your mind trusts the plan you have, you're much less likely to feel dismotivated. This also comes up a lot, I think, when people take on ambitious projects, which I think is good. But if you haven't actually done the work of figuring out how that type of project actually unfolds, what's really needed to succeed, your brain knows, look, you don't have a plan here that I trust that's going to lead us to success. So no, I'm not going to give you motivation to do this. And it's why there's a lot of novels that last 3 chapters before people give up. It's because they got excited about the idea of writing a novel, but didn't actually do the work of figuring out what would it really take to break into the world of novel writing. They just want to do their 1,000 words in the morning and feel motivated and post it on Instagram. Their brain's not tricked. It's like, I don't see a plan here that makes sense. I'm not going to invest energy if I don't see a plan I trust. So I think that's a big part of it as well. Your brain is smarter than you think, which is sort of an ironic statement. If it doesn't really think you have a good plan that's going to achieve something worth achieving, you're not going to feel very motivated. That can feel a lot like procrastination.
I believe, and this is reflected in self-worth theory and some others, theories of motivation or theories of really the human condition, that human beings are powerfully driven to find and pursue meaning in their lives. So meaning means a lot of things, but significance, purpose. A lot of times meaning is certainly personal. It's about my own growth, my relations to others, but it's often social. So a lot of people's drives and meanings actually often come back to a social impact. They want to make some change in the world, benefit some others, bring some value. And that suggests the value out there is often connected to values in us. So looking inward and then mapping that outwardly into the world and seeing where there's some resonance, what's the connection. There's some other things to consider in terms of finding our mission and purpose. It seems to me it's possible, I think, to work in a realm where you don't feel like you're succeeding and you say, okay, I really want to do that. I'm motivated. I have this value. I want to be a musician, and music brings joy to people, and I want to do that. But I'm not musical. So I could do that, but I would probably be frustrated at some point. So I do think that some capacity and skill, we do know that for a sense of well-being and positive regard and how we feel about ourselves, which is crucial to motivation, we need to feel good. We need to have a sense of achievement. That is human. And no, I don't think anybody should apologize for that. We want to achieve, that's part of being a human being too. So I think some combination, right, where we have meaning and purpose that's connected to our values, some impact on the social world, some sense that we can be effective, achieve in that realm, I think are important. It's some sort of, I think it's a kind of coherence, like that what I do reflects what I care about. And they're not perfect. That's not the world we live in, not perfectly aligned, but there's enough overlap or enough alignment that I can feel good about that. I think, people have been talking about this for eons, but that would be my kind of sense. That's what I see among the students that I work with. Super skilled, very driven. It's when these things come into an alignment that they really shine. And not only do they excel, but they feel better about both themselves and their achievement when there's this alignment between values and actions.
You're motivated to keep going. Lifting weights, heavy weights is hard, but if you're a professional athlete, you don't read it as hard in the sense of I wish I wasn't doing this. You read it as I love the burn I'm feeling, because it means I'm going after the thing that I care about. This burn means my muscle's going to get bigger and I'm going to throw that fastball faster. That's the mindset we want in work. Like, yeah, this is hard. I have to master this new whatever skill. I have to master this new software so we can produce this better video or something like this. You're like, yeah, that's hard in the moment, but I like this hardness because it's part of this vision I have for building this particular artistic vision. And so I'm glad that it's hardness that provides satisfaction. So I do not like slogans like, follow your passion, never work a day in your life. I think instead, your goal is to build a working life that you can pursue with passion. That can be a source of passion, can be a source of meaning, can be a source of resilience. And this is something that is a multi-year project, if not a lifetime project. It's about how you approach your work, not how you find your work. This is the way you should think about it. And so don't conceive of yourself as being wired to do this job. And if you match that job, you're set. Conceive of yourself as you're trying to build this masterwork that is your professional life, and you're building it on the fly, as you live. And it's going to be hard and wonderful and rewarding, and over time get better and more nuanced and more resilient. But it's all about focusing on things you think that matter, doing them really well, taking that skill, the leverage that gives you, and saying what comes next and apply it, and then repeat, constantly driving the structure you're building on the fly towards places that resonate and away from things that don't. Some days are going to be harder than others. Some places are going to come easier than others. Some things are going to be more successful than others, but over time, this is going to take you somewhere worth going.
Today's video was sponsored by Mulliganbrothers.com, where you can buy the Inspire Change t-shirts. The new Not a Journal is out as well. Consider becoming a channel member. And if you want to see of what I get up to in my spare time, go follow me on Instagram @JordanMulliganBrother. Have a blessed and productive day, and I'll see you in the next one. Peace.